The future is now, and AML is uniquely positioned to be able to enable the e-mobility of next generation transportation and healthcare and numerous other platforms that involve magnetics. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mark Senti, CEO of AML.
So we're really excited to have this opportunity from the leadership team. Myself and Dr. Meinke are here, co-founders. And really, the reason for tonight is simple: libation, education, and celebration. And imagine a world without magnetics. That's what it would look like. Without electricity, we wouldn't have motors, we wouldn't have water, we wouldn't have food, we wouldn't have clothing, we wouldn't have the amenities in life, such as in Florida, air conditioning, for example. We wouldn't have cars, we wouldn't have robots, and we wouldn't have smartphones, and we wouldn't have computers. So how are we differentiated? We're differentiated in our experience, our capabilities, our technology. We're absolutely the world's best. Our competitors like GE, Siemens, still fundamentally design and manufacture magnets the same way Nikola Tesla did in 1883. Fundamentally, nothing has changed. So this is why we're here, because the future is now. Radical changes in aerospace and transportation. Magnets have enabled the past, and magnets will enable the future. And the future is electric transportation, something we call e-mobility. And at the heart of electric transportation is the propulsion. It's what makes cars, trains, ships, and soon planes move. And at the heart of these electrical machines are magnets. And AML, as you've heard, is the world leader in magnetics. We all know about drones. We know what they can do. We know how sophisticated they are. Well, just imagine making very, very big drones, and that's how you're going to get from point A to point B. So what's happening in the aerospace industry exactly parallels automotive. It'll be the end of gas-burning engines. It turns out it's much more energy efficient, even on very, very large planes, A300s, to generate electricity and distribute that to these multiple propulsion fans. How many of you have used Uber? Pretty much everybody. So everybody knows that app? What's different about this one? Uber Air.
So far, we've been focused on ground-based transportation. And for us, the natural next step was flight.
They're electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or eVTOLs. eVTOLs will make our lives easier, our commutes shorter, and our cities cleaner and more productive. They'll fundamentally change how our cities function and how we live in them.
The relevance here for AML is I talked about motors. Motors are what drives these propellers, if you will. Every one of these vehicles is completely unique. There's no two vehicles that look alike. There's no two vehicles that have the same motors, same propellers, the same number of motors, the same size of motors, etc. Now, and how do we impact and affect the future, which is now? What we want to do and what we are doing is we're leveraging this track record of technology, enabling IP and experience to really address the challenges of e-mobility. And our plan is to roll out the highest power density machine and the magnets inside. But what does AML bring to the table? We bring a very, very unique team. We bring our unique, what we call perfect field development process, which allows us to optimize magnets. Again, magnets are inside motors and generators. We have very unique permanent magnet technology, very unique electromagnet technology, very unique configurations, and very unique experience. So how do we compare to the world record? Our models shows that we will be something like 50% better than Siemens. That's a really, really big deal. What if we took our new permanent magnet technology and how would it work in something this small? That's what you see there. Simply plug and play, replacing existing permanent magnet technology with what we plan to develop will give a 30% efficiency improvement. That's a really big deal. I mentioned Hyperloop and Hypertransport. Well, that's what we call a linear motor, and a linear motor is simply an unrolled regular motor, and that's what we're graphically showing you there. Can you imagine the amount of magnets that are going to be needed to transport people from city to city and across the country? It's a whole lot. Can you imagine the benefit if you could have a magnet that gives you that much better performance at a lower or equal cost? That's a really big deal. We like that. So focusing just on aviation, it's a very large market, or in electric vehicles. I've seen market reports at over 400 billion, but certainly it's a big market of over 140 billion. Our competitors, Siemens for propulsion, Honeywell for generators, a bunch of motor manufacturers for cars, but actually all of them can be customers. So where are we today? On the e-mobility side, we're kicking off a 20 megawatt airborne generator project for a very large $40 billion plus company. We have 2 eVTOL projects. We're working with 2 different drone companies and a company that is in the business of building turbines. These are military applications. We also are working on the medical side. We'll mention that briefly. And we're ongoing discussions on many other opportunities. But the markets for the commercial drones and the markets for these very, very large drones, or eVTOLs, open up all kinds of new applications. These applications are, for example, organ delivery. And our business model allows us to do this because, for the most part, we're not going to be the big manufacturer. We will license it, or we will spin out companies to manufacture it. Next, I want to introduce the guy who's responsible for the majority of these patents. You will be looking at a future Nobel Prize winner, and he's going to introduce something very, very interesting. Reiner?
Electric propulsion, you might ask, why do we need anything related to medical technology? But I think after that excellent dinner we had here and all the food you ingested, I think you will really need to enjoy that kind of technology in the future. Nowadays, we try very hard to extend the period we are actually living. And in particular, some of the brightest minds we have at the moment, they are really pushing technology where we can live maybe 150 years, maybe even longer. And I talked about that excellent food which we had here. Now it has a side effect that it clogs up our arteries. Or I had worked on a project related to the oil industry, that oil wells are actually clogging up when you just pump up the oil. And the same kind of, or a very similar chemistry which you find in these oil pipes is actually what we accumulate in our arteries. We thought that the same kind of technology should be applicable and will be applicable to the medical field, prevents the build-up from plaque in our arteries, and even once we have accumulated plaque in the arteries, to remove it and slowly bring the arteries to their right performance. We do all these kind of things. Everything requires magnet, and it all will help you to enjoy the electrical transportation and flying taxis and whatever have you, going 4,000 miles per hour from point A to point B.
AML's plan is to incorporate our technology and demonstrate the world's highest power density motor. This milestone will make history. All right, I want to thank everybody. Really want to thank Scott for putting this all together. AML feels really good about its future, feels really good about being here on the Space Coast.
Thank you, Mark. And you can see why our company was very excited to get involved with the financing for AML. They're a hidden gem that meets a lot of the qualifications that we look for in the companies that we sponsor. Large markets, high impact, ability to capture those with a strong IP portfolio, and a broad platform of technologies, and a business plan that revolves around some very world experts in their field. So with that, again, thanks for sharing the journey with us this evening. The future is now, and you're going to be seeing AML enabled quite a bit in the future. And now you can say that you saw your first.